William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
Hello everyone. Is it okay if I speak Spanish, English, and Spanish? Both back and forth? Okay, cool. Feel like you. Me llamo Gabriel Jesus Escobedo, Gabriel Escobedo. I'm the founder and director of a program se llama Paso, and our whole mission is to educate communities on Latino culture through the arts. So a little bit about me. I am a third generation Mexican American. Mi familia de Mexico. My mother was a migrant farm worker. My dad worked like 3 jobs in high school just to support his family. And there's been a lot of struggle in my life, even nowadays. But I've always tried to overcome it, and one way I did that was through the arts. So growing up, especially here in DFW, my parents, as soon as my older sister got into school, they put her in a program called ESL, International English as a Second Language, and they started looking at our family as if we were poor, uneducated people from Mexico. So my parents got afraid. So they were so afraid that they stopped teaching us Spanish completely. So the only ones we would talk to would be, mi abuela or mis tíos. But we weren't allowed to speak Spanish to anyone else. So growing up, it was kind of hard for me to kind of figure out who I was because I was Tejano. But then my house looked Asian, and then we could only speak English. And also, I heard that they wanted to call me Jackie Chung at one point. I was very confused as a child. Anyway, one thing that really spoke to me was the arts. I danced since I was a kid, and I'm actually a certified dance instructor. I've been dancing for years, but I'm also a published poet. I'm a published author, published artist, photographer. And what I'm doing now is trying to educate communities. So Paso, in Indiana. So I actually made this program in Indiana before coming here to Texas. And I'm actually here in Texas because I'm trying to get my PhD. And this is part of my, not really my research, but something that I'm really passionate about. So we're just going to talk about briefly, because I know that time is a kind of factor, and I really want the people here to talk to the artists and get to learn from them, especially you young students. So I want to talk about poetry and rap and how Latinos, especially those in the United States, have used poetry and rap as a way of expressive culture, passion. So we're going to talk about poetry first, poesía. For those who don't know, it's mural in Argentina. It means poetry is the liberation, it's the freedom. It's a very, very famous photo. I actually just have this photo with me at all times, just because it's very inspirational. But before we talk about Latinos in the United States, we're going to talk about how poetry has been seen in Latin America before the conquistas, before the Spanish came to the Americas. And the most well-documented case of indigenous people using poetry is the Nahuatl, or the Aztecs. And in Nahuatl language, poetry and song are the same word, and that's Huicatan. They follow 2 themes. The themes are mostly historical things, talking about who was king, or who married who, or how was the state formed. If you were to think about it, it's como like corridos, talking about a history through this melodic variation, through song, through this poetry. And the other was fiction, so they would often make stories or jokes and make fairy tales just to entertain people. And the cool thing about this is when the Spanish came to Mexico, especially Mexico, they wrote all these things down. And when they wrote them down, they were actually recorded. So I want to show you two instances of the past and the present of Nahuatl poetry. By the way, everything I'm showing you can easily find online for free. So this is ancient Nahuatl poetry. It was comprised, it wasn't written, but it was comprised and translated by Daniel Chisholm. And I just kind of want to read some things here so you can see. So we can see here on the left, this is in the Nahuatl language, traditional how it's spelled. There is actually a codex in this book, so you can actually translate it for yourself or learn how to pronounce it. But I'm going to read here. So I'm not going to pretend to speak Nahuatl. I can speak a little bit of it, but I'm not doing any more about but I'm just going to read the English translation. Of what use is it that I bring my sad song, that I recall to mind the youth, the beloved children, the precious relatives, the dear friends, famous and celebrated as they were on earth? Who now hears their fame, their deeds? Where can they find them? All of us are but mortal, and our home is there in the hereafter, where there is life without it. Okay? So it's kind of the same things that we would hear today in more modern poetry. And speaking of modern poetry, there's actually a Mexican poet who writes traditionally in Nahuatl first. So he writes in Nahuatl. But his name is Natalio Hernandez. He writes in Nahuatl and then he translates that to Spanish and then he translates the Spanish to English. So if you actually Google Natalio Hernandez, it won't let him pop up real fast. For some reason. But I encourage you all to look him up. Because I think he actually has recordings on YouTube where he's actually performing them in Nahuatl, and then he performs them in Spanish, and then he performs them in English. But my link's not moving, and I want to get through this as fast as possible. So after the Spanish came, a lot of the Spaniards that were in Mexico, especially Mexico and Chile, were starting to record these accounts. A lot of these were people in the monastery, or the conquistadors themselves, the warriors who were in God. And the two most famous people were Alonso de Garcia and Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. And these were, at the time, considered epics. The big stories that everyone in Spain wanted to hear. And most of these poetries, they were written in like 37 canons, or 37 kind of like verses long, or 12 plus a long, two short stories. But they all kind of follow three things. Either praise the Spanish conquest and why we had to go to the Americas to take over the land, and we did it because of our religion for God. And then they also counted acts of war. So, his most famous work is La Araucana, which talks about a battle in Chile where the Spaniards worked with indigenous people and fought off other indigenous tribes to claim the land. And if you were to think about it, you can think of it like compared to the Battle of Troy or the Odyssey, the Iliad, in its aspect of how they kind of glorified the heroes and made them as these fabled legends. And they talked about the gruesome scenes that were in there, not as if it was horrible, but as a beauty. And so Juana Inés de la Cruz, she was actually a self-taught scholar, a self-taught poet. And it was very uncommon for women of the time to be in this kind of realm of academia, especially if she was a nun. But one of her famous works is called The Dream. And The Dream spoke about what it meant to be human, what it meant to be in the presence of God, and how to find God with your heart. And then you realize that what is real and what is unreal is all inside of yourself. And a lot of her work actually kind of deconstructed the norms. It talked about how, it talked a lot about what we consider feminism, as well as deconstruction of the government and oppression. So it's actually very famous work, and it's been more popular now in academia. So we're going to jump to the 20th century. We have something called modernismo, which is actually ending around this time. And if you don't know what that is, it's modernist poetry. They focused a lot on symbolism. It came from French. It started out like from French modernist symbolic poetry and kind of evolved. But it tried to reject the material world, and it tried to make things more as symbols to regulate the whole, as well as, I guess, the individual. So if one person was to see this painting, they would see one thing, but it was a symbol that regards to a whole community or a whole subgroup or subculture. But towards the end of this, we had something called the Latin boom. The Latin boom was very impressive because at the time, the Western world didn't consider Latin American authors up to par with people in Germany, and France, and Europe, and Italy. But during this time, these four authors, known as the Big Four, were starting to write with this kind of modern small take, but then they started blending other genres, other like surrealism, kind of fiction and nonfiction, blending what is real, what is not, and using poetry in just the basic descriptions of what they saw in everyday life. And these short stories, these poems, and these novels became so widely read in Spain. They actually left Latin America, went to Spain, went to the rest of Europe, and then went to the United States. And they became so popular, people started looking at Latin American artists in a different light. And once they started doing this, they started realizing that their work's focusing on a few things such as politics, okay? Fight against a dictatorship or an oppressive government. And during this time in the 1950s, 40s and 50s, there was a really big push for communism. So many of these authors were communists. They were pushing for equality and kind of abstraction from a totalitarian government and more of everyone has access to everything. And they also kind of promoted this nationalism. We are from Chile, we are from Argentina, we are from Mexico. We have a unique culture. We're a blend of different people. We are mestizaje. That means we are European, we're indigenous, we're African. And we just want to celebrate that. By the way, this is Gabriel Garcia Marquez, one of my favorite authors, and I just love this photo. So during the 1950s and 60s, after the Latin boom, after the kind of push for communism, using poetry as a way of political pushback or trying to gain people into their political ideologies or mindsets, you start seeing things in the United States because they started reading these works by the Latin boom artists. They started reading that they can talk, not with their voice, but with written word. And this is actually one of the most famous Chicano civil rights poets. He goes by the name Alurista. His name is Urista. And the civil rights poetry focused on the political protest. It talked about class struggle, it talked about urban struggle, because unlike other Mexican Americans or Chicanos whose ancestors were from Los Campos, the rural areas, many of these people are in the cities. Many of them are in the the ghettos, the barrios. And that's what the work was trying to showcase, that we're a minority. We're just like everyone else. We want to help. We want everyone to know our class struggle, the racial injustices, the gender injustices. And from this, they actually had a national expansion that wasn't seen anywhere else at the time. Because Latinos, especially in the Southwest, Chicanos, Colombians, El Salvadorians, started passing paper, passing words, faster than ever before. And with this, they had the poetry, they had their word out there, and people could read it in a short 3-verse and understand that we matter and we want to fight for equality. So they started using it as for political justice, and then eventually they started using it for organizations. Because through work such as Alurista, they were able to form more groups, which we now call Mecha, LULAC, United Farm Workers. Okay, they got people to understand and listen because they used poetry as a way to stand out from just normal political protests. So I'm going to kind of shift to rap, and the reason I'm shifting to rap now is because the civil rights movement was the 60s and the 70s. And right after that in New York, we had something called hip-hop. Okay, hip-hop was birthed in the Bronx, New York City. Okay? It was mixing up funk, disco, some Latin beats, especially the drum, the reggae, and more. But what hip-hop was different was they weren't using these kind of like, say for instance, Motown, the big hooks, the lines where everyone's singing. They're using what's called the breakbeats, just the percussion instruments. And then, so what we have is 2 gentlemen. The first is DJ Kool Herc, who's credited to be the pioneer of hip-hop. He was the one who was taking reggae, taking Motown, disco, some Latin funk, and then cutting it with two vinyl record players and making what we call hip-hop. So a lot of it came from African origins, a lot of the African Americans in the Bronx. But what many people don't realize or want to acknowledge is that they weren't the only ones in the Bronx. There was Colombians, there was Cubans, there was Puerto Ricans, and all these groups have African descent. They are African diaspora countries, and they acknowledge that and they celebrate this. So a lot of times when people think hip hop is a black music, hip hop is a universal music of the marginalized people in New York City. They just happen to have this gentleman here start getting the sound. And then that's when they want us to put their own words to that sound. And that's when we have MCing. And MCing turned into what we call rapping, because there's 4 pillars of hip hop. That is the music, okay, the DJing. You have graffiti, so the art that is in your face. You have breakdancing that goes with the beat, and then to understand the stories behind it all, you have MCing. And African Bambaataa was one of the godfathers of hip hop, and he coined the term rapping. And rapping, and how we see it in African American culture, comes from something called the dozens. The dozens is kind of like a joke, a play on words that we can have to make fun of someone or to one up someone. So you hear things like yo mama, the yo mama jokes. Those are part of what we call the dozens. So they start using the dozens. They're using this African tradition of wordplay with it, and together with this hip hop beat, this new sound, they formed what we call rap today. But they weren't the only ones. Like I said, Latinos were there, especially on the East Coast. You have people called New Yorkers. New Yorkers are just Puerto Ricans born in New York City or who moved to New York City, who claim that as their home, as well as the island. So they actually focused on English and Spanish. They didn't try to blend the two. It was either English or Spanish. They used a lot of vernacular, African American vernacular in their English, or they used a lot of slang from Puerto Rican Spanish in their melody. They heavily focused on lyricism, so they wanted this cool wordplay. They wanted puns, they wanted jokes, they wanted to make people like, that was awesome. And they often talked in Puerto Rican or New York accents. So if they're from the Bronx, they spoke like from the Bronx. If from Manhattan, different parts, they would take those accents with them. And they discussed social issues. They would discuss what's happening on the street to them, to their families. But towards the late 70s, 80s, hip-hop, rap went to the West Coast. And when they went to the West Coast, especially in California, that's where a lot of political activism was still going on. Even though the civil rights movement was kind of dying down and a lot of Latinos were dying, their passion was dying down with it, poetry was still a big thing. And a lot of these poets, like Arista, went to communities. He went to communities, he taught young students how to write, how to get their voice out to be heard. But because the times are changing, they're like, we're not those old school civil rights people, we're young, we're new. And once they heard this new sound, they started adding their own things to it. So you get these young Latino, especially Chicano poets, and they're speaking in English, Spanish, Spanglish, and Calo. If you don't know, Calo it's Romani Spanish. It's like a mix. It's a kind of like a made-up pidgin language. You find this in parts of Spain, but you really find it here in the United States, in California, especially in Los Angeles. And their melodies were kind of thought of laid back, slower, but more aggressive, because they come from this history of political activism. They didn't have time to mess around with jokes or puns. They really want to speak in your face. And that's what a lot of people kind of distinguish the two as. But unlike Puerto Ricans or New Yorkers, they spoke in Mexican accents, or what we call Calo or Spanglish. They talked like they're from El Barrio. And again, they discussed these social, political issues that they saw every day. So like how hip-hop has something called the dozens, a lot of Mexicans and Mexican Americans have something equal. It's called cabula, and it's joking with someone, joking with someone, making fun of them, trying to one-up them. You said something, I want to make fun of you, but like do a clever wordplay on top of it. So it might be kind of seen as bullying. So if you're bullied as a kid, it's not by like your tia or tios or primos, it's just culture. At least that's what I thought. So what they started doing was they're using these jokes, these puns, and mixing Latin genres with hip-hop beats. So at the time, you would hear things like the popular cumbias at the time, the popular ranchero music. You would hear banda beats, but then they would mix it with hip-hop beats to give it a distinct flavor. And then you get these people who are kind of promoting this mestizaje, this brown pride, this blending of culture, because they would take things from funk, soul, R&B, and they're like, well, that's part of our history too. We are also, okay? And then they're trying to promote, like, we're from the barrio, we might be poor, but we have a lot of culture. We want you to hear us. We want you to see us. And one of the big components of this, some call him the godfather of Latin rap, is Kid Frost. And Kid Frost, he actually released a song called La Raza, which I want to let you guys into a bit. It was first successfully commercialized song by Latino. Iconography, different symbolisms that a lot of people would kind of think of for Aztec, for Mexican culture, but it's using this graffiti, mixing with the old and the new, forming something that is contemporary. And what he's doing is he's using saxophones. You don't hear a lot of saxophones in hip hop. You don't hear a lot of Latin beats in hip hop. The beginning of the song starts out with a very prominent Latin beat, something that you would hear in Mexico. So what he was doing is being a face like, we are the race, we are mestizaje, we're brown pride, we are a mix of everything because you won't recognize us as a race. But he wasn't the only one that was big. So going back to the New Yorkers, we have someone called Big Pun. Big Pun is very important because he was the first solo Latino rapper to ever go platinum. Because he was different, he embraced the Africans. He related more to African Americans in New York City. He had a lot of Puerto Rican pride. He prided himself as being New Yorker, so he kind of blended the struggles and turmoils, especially in the 90s. He took influence from Tupac, from AA, all these people from all over the country, but then he added New Yorican or Puerto Rican flair on top of it, so that we can be like, yes, I'm a rapper, I'm American, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Latino, I have African roots. So he's credited to having really fast beats and clever wordplay, hence his name, Big Pun. But sadly he died in 2000, otherwise we'd be still hearing him today. He's actually one of the founding members of different groups like Terror Squad, Work with Fat Joe, a very common rapper today. But if we were to go back to the roots, regresando a las raíces, we see now that hip hop and poetry have changed. A lot of people hear reggaeton and like, oh, that's Latino hip hop. It's not. Hip hop by definition is something that has certain forms, certain beats, certain rhythms, and it comes from the United States. Reggaeton mixes reggae with hip hop. And actually, if you want to go back into history, that's from Panama, and it started going around the Caribbean. So one of the big godfathers of reggaeton is Daddy Yankee, because he's using this wordplay, this poetry, putting these reggaeton beats to it. And you see a lot of political rapping with Calle 13. So this guy is an Evidente, and he's a very, very big political activist in Latin America, and how he uses his form of activism is through rapping. But now, there's also been a shift. So there's indigenous rapping groups in Oaxaca, Mexico, and what they're doing is they're using rap to save their image. It's another form of protest they're pushing away. They're using, they're speaking Zapotec words, no Spanish, no English, but they're putting hip hop beats. And I want to show you that. translate roughly, he's saying like we're Zapotecs, we're rapping, we're talking about our culture, we've been here for a long time. But what's interesting to note is that he's using, again, like these hip hop kind of break beats, but the instruments in there are all indigenous instruments. So, I don't know in English, the flute that you hear, that that's actually a traditional Zapotec instrument that mimics birds in the region of Oaxaca. So they're using these kind of mixing genres, and they have more songs, and sometimes they actually dress in traditional Zapotec attire. But what they're doing is they're using poetry and rap because they actually have these words first as poems. And then that's how they started out, was writing poems with other Zapotec artists, and they wanted to do something new because they felt like they weren't being heard as young Zapotecs because their culture is changing, it's adapting. So before we go into the workshops with our amazing artists, I want to just kind of end with one thing. How are we going to, as Latinos, as people of color, or just as artists, where do you see poetry and hip-hop or poetry and rap continuing now? And if you do want to read more, I encourage you to read some of these poets. I've had the honor of meeting some of these artists. Juan Felipe Herrera is actually the Nobel laureate for poetry in the United States. That award is given to the best poet in the country. Arisa, I encourage you to read that. Gloria Azindua, she's actually from Texas. She's from La Frontera. And she writes in a way that speaks to people who are Mexican descent, born in the United States, especially Texas. And again, rappers, Kid Frost, there's Snow Product, who is actually a female rapper, and she's one of the big ones of breaking down gender stereotypes in rapping. And of course, Kai Trece, Lil Rob, Big Gemini. Alright, so if y'all have questions, I would love to answer them, but I know that you guys are really here for the artists. I know, I'm not going to give them. So that being said, I'd like two artists to come up here so I can introduce. And I will So I want to briefly introduce them. By the way, these two artists are generously donating their time, so make sure you take advantage of this. So first I want to introduce Ignacio Ruiz Perez. He's an American poet and scholar. He's been awarded, among others, the following national prizes, just a few. National Prize of Poetry, Ali Tumacero in 2000. National Prize of Poetry, Jose Gorostiza in 2004. Regional Prize of Poetry, Rodolfo Figueroa in 2005. National Prize of Youth Poetry, Salvador Gallardo Davalos, 2006. Mesoamerican Prize of Poetry, Luis Cardozo y Aragon, 2013. And the International Prize of Poetry, Leon Felipe in 2015. His most recent book is Islas de Tierra de Firme. In 2005, he's the Assistant Director at Center for Mexican Studies at the University of Texas at Arlington. So if you can't give him a applause. Now I want you to introduce Gemini, also known as Big Gemini. He's a rapper and recording artist born in Dallas, Texas. After the song Hypnotize was released, he began to earn international fame. Remix of the song was released in 2008, featuring Flow Rider and Lil Rob. And in the past, Gemini has worked with such artists as Andy Ridas, MC Magic, Frankie J, Baby Bash, Miguel, Ashanti, Pitbull, Nelly Furtado, Fat Joe, and more. He's been nominated for 4 NAMA Awards, Native American Music Awards for a song Cinnamon Girl. Gemini has also starred as himself and performed songs as a Latino stand-up and MTV film movie All You Got with Sierra and Adrian Balon. He still tours and enjoys writing behind the scenes for other labels and other artists. So if you can, give them both a round of applause. So what we're going to do is, since this is a small group, which is perfect, we're just going to kind of break up. I'm going to ask you guys if you want to do one first and then another. Yeah. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break up. So if you guys can actually come, we can move the chairs here and give your full attention. In your bags, there's notebooks and pens, so you can write. And then I have our artist here who's gonna read some poetry, and then give y'all kind of a face. And feel free to ask questions throughout the whole thing. Yeah. So that way. And si quieres que la cubrimos.
¿Perdón?
¿Si quieres?
¿Ahí? Sí.
Sí. And you got me move up. Because we're going to be sitting in a circle. That means you better.
¿Qué te parece?
I just can't.
I don't have a microphone.
No.
Okay. Hola, hi, how are you? My name is Ignacio. I'm glad for being here. I want to thank Gabriel for the invitation. Quiero agradecer a Gabriel por la invitación. It's really a pleasure for me being here, sharing my work. I think the dynamics of the workshop is probably reading. I'm going to be reading some poems. Voy a leer algunos poemas. Y después de leer, quizá podemos hacer un pequeño ejercicio. We can work on a little or a brief exercise on, how to create probably a poem. So the list of poems that I'm going to be reading right now, it's some poems that I wrote while I was still living in Mexico. Todavía vivía en México cuando escribí esos poemas. So muchos de esos poemas están relacionados con mi vida personal, right? So some of these poems are very related to my very personal life. So the something that I have to talk about these poems is that they are organized around the different days in the week. And most of the poems touch with or touch different places that are very important for my very personal life. Entonces los poemas que voy a leer ahora o a continuación están organizados alrededor de los 7 días de la semana y están relacionados también con algún espacio, ¿no? Importante en mi vida, ¿no? En particular el lugar donde yo soy originario, ¿no? Entonces some of these poems are also related to the place where I come from. I come from Chiapas, southern Mexico. It's a very poor state, very poor region, and something that is important to say about this region is that it's a very diverse region with a lot of indigenous people, indigenous cultures, and also different traditions, and that is something that from the very beginning shocked me, right? Something that has in many ways nurtured my writing. La escritura de la diversidad de los pueblos originarios de México, de Chiapas en particular, donde yo soy, ha verdaderamente nutrido mi trabajo. Entonces, eso es lo que voy a intentar reflejar en estos poemas que voy a leer a continuación. Pues Gabriel is gonna make me a big favor. He's gonna read the English version, since my English is a little bit broken, so I don't want to basically destroy it, right? The English version, but I'm going to be reading the Spanish version for some of you, for all of you, and then I think we can have the musicality, la musicalidad de la poesía, I think in its original language, and then Gabriel is going to be reading the English version for you to have the idea of the concept. So Esto es el oro de los días. Entonces, alternamos, ¿verdad, Gabriel?
Sí, alternamos. Sí.
Ahí está el oro de los días. El primer poema, the first poem is rotaciones and is lunes. I want you to get that, I'm dealing with many ideas in these poems, right? And then we can have a discussion regarding this. Rotaciones, lunes. Sin punto de apoyo da principio a la palabra, a la noche y a los amaneceres más hermosos, a lo que intento decir y se me queda en los labios, el oro de los días y el instantes que es todos los instantes, el arpa y las cuerdas que suspenden el mundo, los recuerdos y la caída del sol en la garganta del mar. En el fondo de la tarde, un hombre pule su eterno reflejo.
Rotations, Monday. With no starting point, it gives birth to the word. To the night and the most beautiful dawn. To what I attempt to say is left on my lips. The gold of the days and the moment that is all moments. The harp and the chords that sustain the world. The memories and the sun setting in the throat of the sea. In the depths of dusk, a man polishes his eternal reflection.
This set of poems, it's tríptico, the name is tríptico, it's martes, tríptico martes. It's basically, I think, it's a set of poems that are trying to capture un estado de ánimo, right? How do you say estado de ánimo? Anímica estado de ánimo, lo que sientes.
Just like what expression? Yeah,
Sentimiento, right? So, okay, this is tríptico. Noche. Aquí el exacto vacío. Punto de luz y luna creciente. 2. Imagen. Luz en desbandada. El espejo desnuda mi rostro. 3. Viento de abril. Torvo lengüetazo de llamas vivas en aguas muertas.
Tuesday. 1. Night. Here, the precise emptiness, a point of light in a crescent moon. 2. Image. Unbanded light. The mirror covers my face. 3. Wind of April. The fierce lip of ardent flame in dying waters.
And then this is miércoles, San Cristóbal. San Cristóbal is an amazing colonial city in Chiapas, in southern Mexico. So actually these poems that I will be reading right now, some of them are related to different places from the state of Chiapas, the state where I come from. So here they are. This is miércoles, San Cristóbal. La tarde es un rostro de piedra, su luz, alas de colibrí. Las calles reverberan el rumor del tiempo en ámbar atrapada.
San Cristobal, Wednesday. The dust is a face of stone. Its light, wings of a hummingbird. The streets echo the murmur of time trapped in amber.
And this is Palenque. Palenque is not a colonial city, but it's an archaeological site from the Maya culture in Mexico. It's one of the most famous archaeological sites in Mexico. It's really a very famous place. It's one of the most important probably for the Maya culture. So Palenque es un sitio arqueológico muy importante en Chiapas. Es probablemente uno de los sitios arqueológicos más importantes de la cultura maya. Es impresionante porque además una de las cosas que caracteriza a Palenque es el entorno natural, que es impresionante. Es un entorno selvático, tropical, exuberante, ¿no? Bueno, pues aquí va. Palenque, jueves. El calor enciende las ramas donde algunas ideas se balancean suspendidas.
Palenque, Thursday. The heat awakens the branches where ideas hover your hand. Suspended.
And this is Tasco. Tasco is another colonial city in Mexico, in the state of Guerrero. It's a very famous city because of its, architecture. Tasco es una ciudad también muy bonita, colonial, impresionante desde el punto de vista arquitectónico. Entonces voy a leer este poema. Es viernes. Tasco es viernes. Una voz desciende por la cúpula del templo, por las cornisas donde los sensontles beben el reflejo múltiple del verano. Inagotable silencio, imagen que se desfonda en el estanque como una moneda.
Taxco, Friday. A voice ascends through the temple domes, through the cornices where sensontles drink in summer's multiple reflections. Its inexhaustible silence, its image that settles in a pond like a coin.
And finally, this poem is named Yaxchilan. Yaxchilan is another archaeological site from the Maya culture. It's a very important archaeological site as well as Palenque. And something that is interesting to mention about Yaxchilan as well as for Palenque is that Yaxchilan is surrounded literally by the jungle. So this is something that makes this archaeological site something completely unbelievable, right? It's amazing, an amazing place. So this poem is trying to capture a particular moment in Yaxchilan that considers the tropical environment, ¿cómo se dice calor? The heat, thank you. And etc. So this is Yaxchilan, es otro espacio también de la cultura maya, y algo que es importante decir, al igual que sucede con Palenque, es que está rodeado por la selva, ¿no? Entonces este poema intenta capturar ese momento de un espacio tropical, húmedo, y bueno, está también reflexionando un poco sobre la naturaleza, la fauna del espacio. Yaxchilan. Sábado. Un jaguar rompe la soga que tensa la música de su piel blanda, donde, como la estera, donde se posa la noche a encender el canto de las silbias.
Yaxchilan, Saturday. A jaguar snaps a cord that tenses the music of its soft skin. Like the bed of rushes where the night settles to incite the song of silks.
I think that's going to be all right. We'll go to the exercise I prepared. Yes, thank you. So what I'd like to propose you guys is write a poem. We can start actually two different poems. One of them could be something that is not ours, and this is an idea of poetry as a collective art, right? So I would like you to consider, yes, thank you. I would like you to consider poetry as a collective art, something that we can all do, something that we can all work. To this purpose, Gabriel has brought some newspapers. We can cut some lines of the newspapers, and we can do our own creation based on different, pieces of words or images from different persons, different people. So what I'm proposing basically is a collage. Vamos a proponer un collage, ¿no? Entonces, esa es una posibilidad, y la otra posibilidad es crear simplemente un poema o un cuento, una historia muy breve, con una temática o una historia muy personal, ¿no? We can also create a poem or a short story or something like that right? That it's related to our very personal background, right? To our very personal history. So we have two different options. So you can basically decide what you want to do, and then you can share all this information. You can share all these materials that you have produced with the rest of the people, and then let's see what happens. Okay? So I'm gonna read the scissors. I have them blue just in case you want to basically paste. ¿Quieres hacer un poema? ¿Sí? Vete a hacer un poema. Aquí hay unas tijeras. Hay un poco de glue, pegamento. Entonces, esas son dos opciones: hacer un collage o un poema, una historia muy personal. Un poema muy personal, una historia personal sobre sus vidas, sobre algo que les guste, ¿no? Por ejemplo, en los poemas que yo leí, lo que yo propongo es simplemente recrear, hablar sobre algunos espacios que son súper importantes en mi vida, ¿no? Este libro, estos poemas los escribí cuando yo estaba todavía en Chiapas y tenía yo mucha nostalgia, ¿no? These poems I just read a couple minutes ago. They are all focusing on some places that I really like, that I really enjoy, because they are related to my life, right? To my very personal life. So those poems are reflecting somehow my nostalgia, right? So what I propose you to write, if you want to write something that is related to your very personal background, right? Something that you are related to. You want to write about Dallas, you want to write about Arlington, about, I don't know, the anything you want to write, right? So please go ahead and feel free to do so.
And guys, this is an opportunity for you guys to ask questions. So if you want to ask questions of how to structure or what ideas, or if it's a good idea, please ask the presenter. Oh, and also we have two sponsors for this event. The first is the Center for Mexican American Studies at UTA, the University of Texas Arlington. And the second is Vive by Design, and they're the ones who provide all the snacks. So if you want more information about either of those, please let us know. Vive by Design is located in Arlington as well. It's 5 minutes away from University of Texas Arlington. They do a host of different dances as well as different events for youth and for the Latino community as well as other communities. They teach belly dancing, African tribal, Latin, ballroom, stuff like waltz, yoga, and they also have an event next month where it's breakdancing versus Latin dancing. And that's for high school students and then 18 and up. So if you want more information, if your email's on the list, we'll send it to you.
Pues empezamos. Pues adelante, ¿quieren? You want to take some newspapers, or you simply want to write your poems on paper? What do you want to do? I mean, it can be poetry, can be short stories, I mean, anything you want to do. It's these spaces for you to express.
What are you going to write?
Puede ser una hojita, claro, podemos traer una hojita. Want some paper? You like poetry? What do you like most? Poetry, music, or both? Both? More paper? If you need more paper, you can take it here. You want to write a poem, you can do it, or you can just simply work on your collage.
Go to grad school, or go to chart? Yeah, chart school. So these two have a lot of things that they want to share.
Excellent.
Because I know that he writes a lot. And you said you write a lot.
Well, I would like to read poetry. I mean, you write poetry, so I would like to write a book. Really? Perfecto. ¿Sabes cómo funciona con el collage? Recortas, puedes hacer un poema tú mismo. Recortas la
It's all started.
I mean, it still takes, people don't realize it takes months to write. Unless we're like there like 2 songs in like an hour.
Yeah. It used to take me a few hours to write a verse. And I probably write a whole song.
I can write a poem pretty well.
But that's not always. Sometimes you get stuck.
And then it's like you go and put it down for like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, year.
So what should we do? Should we try?
Yes.
Try something?
Alright guys, so let's do this. Since we have time and since there's so few of us, I want everyone to kind of perform. You can perform in English, Espanol, English, Spanish, Spanglish, Japonese, if you speak Japanese.
Japonés.
Arigato gozaimasu. Chinese, 我说中文. So perform any way you want, but there's only one rule. Perform the first time as a poem. So despacio, you can use emphasis, but no beat. So the first time is going to be a poem, and then the second time we're just going to add the beat, and you're going to present as a rap. Okay? So basically, you're just doing the same thing you wrote twice, but one time without music, one with. And I want you to feel the difference. Because there is a difference. There is a difference when you are your own music, you are following your own melody. As you were listening to the cadence or the melody of Dr. Ruiz Perez, you were hearing that he had a flow. And every poem wasn't the same. It wasn't this, then this, then this. It flowed. It was like when he was talking, he was singing. Okay? And then when you were hearing raps or just talking to Gemini, you heard the beat. Now it's a new beat that you have to kind of fit into. So I want you guys to kind of play around with this. And that's the whole purpose of this, is to understand that, one, Latinos are different. They all come from different parts. But also poetry and rap are the same thing to an extent. Okay? You either fit with your own voice or you fit in with others' voices. And I want y'all to do this. So I want everyone to present. You don't have a choice. Ha 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 ha. No, I'm joking. Of course you have a choice. So if you want to present, this is just for us. Okay, I'm not going to put this on Facebook yet. Okay, so if anyone wants to come up first, we'd love to hear you. You don't have to use the mic, you can just talk. Okay?
Anybody?
And if you feel more comfortable, especially for the rapping and for the poetry, we can also be up here with you. If you feel nervous, don't be, okay? We just want you to talk, we want you to express, we want to hear what you wrote.
Sin miedo.
Say it, without fear. Have confidence.
Should I do one?
Yeah, do it.
Do one? Just.
Did you also want to do one too? Let's try this. Do you want to do your poetry to one of these beats? And then do you want to do a poem without a beat?
I'll do a poem without a beat right now.
Yeah, do it.
It'll just be.
Alicia, bueno.
It's a rap, but it's something I wrote a while back. I did it with an artist he's from Mexico. He's probably one of Mexico's biggest hip hop artists out right now. And his name is Secan. And this guy is selling out like arenas. He's a big artist in Mexico right now, but he was actually a fan of my music. And at the time when I went into the studio, he wanted to do a song, but he does everything in Spanish. So I was like, I mostly do music in English. So I was like, well, I need to transition to do something in Espanol también, pero I really do mostly English music. So we did a Spanglish song, and it was a song that I had in my archive. They call it, I do a bunch of music and I just archive it and I put it in the vault, like the safe vault. And we brought it out, and we probably did it about 7 years ago. And we brought it forward, we redid the music behind it, revamped it, sent it to him, he loved it, and he sent it back the next day. But I'll do my part on there. The name of the song is called Una Mirada, One Look. So, they say a picture say 1,000 words. I say a look does the same will at first. At first glance you assume by what you think about others, guilty by association by the race or color. I guess I could say it wasn't so. Everybody does it even though they say that they don't. Now that ain't never gonna change, so I move on from that. Regardless what you say will never change the way that we act. I'm still a tatted up Mexican. Assume I'm dope dealing if you see diamonds around my neck sparkling and glistening. Or maybe I just stole it with whatever that I'm holding, cause we all carry guns and knives now, don't we? Sometimes you might be right, but most of the time you just think what you like. You don't know that I'm a loving father trying to make a dream into some dollars. Ain't no need and ain't gonna bother to explain myself to you. Nah. And then the hook goes. It was actually a piece from a song with, what's his name, Denzel Washington. It was called Man on Fire. So I actually sampled the music and put it into the actual track. And in Spanish, it's somebody, Carlos Varela, I think is his name, from the 1980s. And it goes, una mirada no dice nada y al mismo tiempo lo dice todo. Una mirada no dice nada y al mismo tiempo lo dice todo. So that was that, and that was the verse that I put on there. If y'all get time, it's called Una Mirada, Big Gemini, Secan. Y'all can check it out. And y'all can also look up some of my other music that I've done. Big Gemini, just look it up. I've done songs for my son. Different types of records and different genres.
And you also have the show tonight.
And I actually got to leave here in a few seconds. I'm performing at Fair Park tonight, so the crowd's already there. It should be a sold-out crowd. So
with some of the artists that we talked about in the PowerPoint, so they will also.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the artists that he was referring about are actually going to be there, and yeah, it should be really good. So we should have a good turnout. They're already lined up, so that's a good sign. We've already sold a lot of tickets, so.
So do you want to try do it in Spanish? You know, whatever you're going to get, and then you can pick the beat.
Pick one?
Yeah, let me pick.
Okay, I'll let you pick.
Sí. Let me see which one. Okay. This one.
Any beat?
Yeah.
We'll do that. A little more slow.
¿Empiezo ya? ¿Ya? Un ciervo herido, cuántas veces no he soñado esa imagen ardiendo, y siempre que la vi me dispuse a registrar su cuerpo lacerado, su cornamenta trazando un tibio resplandor de ramas, pero el ciervo huía del fuego y mis labios tan solo pronunciaban la mirra de su paso, si vislumbraba sus huellas en la hojarasca. Era su imagen lo que perseguía, y de pronto yo mismo tropezaba con las llamas, intuyendo el zarpazo de un tigre que no era yo, sino mi sombra ardiendo en el bosque.
Who's next? I'll treat you guys like my high school student. If you make eye contact with me, I'll call you out. If you don't make eye contact with me, I'll call you out again. Come on. Yeah, down, come on. Yeah. You're mature. So read it first as just a poem, and then I'll let you pick up one track song.
Dallas. It may not be beautiful buildings. It may not have gorgeous grass fields. It may not be as colorful as other places, but it's our home. It may be small, but it sure is amazing on its own way. Dallas.
Cool. One go slow, fast.
First one.
First one, in time.
No, wait. I can wait for the part of the song. Dallas. It may not be beautiful. It may not be gorgeous, but it is sure is colorful. But it's our home. It may be small, but sure it's amazing. Dallas.
Then the decision, supporting a chance to listen.
Stop.
Then the decision, supporting a chance to listen. Action is sow the soil as thoughts tend to boil. More power or money. Tempers doom, vows me doom. Coming and soaring. Trade for trade, a future for the generation eye-opening.
First one. Man, everyone just loves this first one.
It is super cool.
It's really cool. All right. Speak loud. I want to hear it.
Supporting chance to listen, action, search for the soil, as thoughts tend to boil. More power or money, can consume, thousand agents, come and soaring, trade, a future for the generation, eye-opening.
You want to read first, John?
Yeah. This one is it's in Spanish because it's a little bit easier for me to write in Spanish than it is in English. Que me disculpen un poco porque soy músico, no soy poeta, pero es mi intento. Es que en la vida he estado pensando mucho en que las personas, todas las personas en las calles, las personas en las casas, las personas en el pueblo, las personas en el campo, todas las personas tienen valor. Y deberíamos valorar a todas las personas. Igual que una persona que parece que es un pobre, un borracho, lo que sea, que no tiene un valor, esas personas sí tienen valor. Tienen una familia, tienen una vida. Y lo que escribí es que el valor de un ser humano no se puede medir con el estatus económico o el puesto de trabajo. El valor de un ser humano es algo que no se puede medir con la educación o la formación. Es algo tan importante, es algo tan esencial. Y muchas veces la gente no aprecia y no valora a lo que es un ser humano. Deberíamos abrazar a nuestros seres humanos, ayudar a nuestros seres humanos, ayudar a nuestra gente, ayudar a las personas en las calles. Porque todos sentimos el dolor, todos sentimos el amor, todos tenemos familias, todos tenemos amigos y enemigos. Y entonces, entendiendo eso, deberíamos intentar sentir el dolor de lo que se siente uno, porque eso es lo que nosotros pedimos a otra persona cuando nosotros también sentimos el dolor.
You speak for that. It's okay.
El valor de un ser humano se puede medir con el estatus económico o el puesto de trabajo. El valor de un ser humano es algo que no se puede medir con la educación o la formación. Es algo tan importante, es algo tan esencial. Y muchas veces la gente no aprecia y no valora a lo que es un ser humano. Todos somos iguales, todos somos personas y deberíamos valorar uno al otro. Porque sin eso somos máquinas, somos robots. Sin alma, sin corazón. Debemos sentir lo que tenemos adentro, el latido del corazón, porque eso es lo que tiene cada uno. Y sabiendo eso, nosotros debemos amar uno al otro, porque todos nosotros sentimos el otro.
Cool. So we have plenty of time. Joe, what do you think? Did you have fun? Do you want to go?
Venga.
No? Pete? Jesus, no? No. Next time? Maybe. All right, so, you want to go?
Mientras ella se anima, ¿vale?
Ooh.
Salgo yo y luego sales tú. Ok. Yo he escrito sobre, inspirándome en los dos versos de Sor Juana más famosos, hombres necios que acusáis a la mujer sin razón, y es un rap feminista. Te crees la neta, el dueño del planeta, que vas y lo petas, y no eres más que un jeta que me tiene hasta las tetas. Hombres necios que acusáis a la mujer sin razón, sois la lacra que aplastáis a la mujer con corazón. Corazón de guerrera que ya nada espera porque todo ya lo ha dado sin esperar un carajo del que la mantiene siempre abajo. Hombres necios que acusáis a la mujer sin razón. Basta ya de tonterías, de la misma mierda cada día, basta ya de mamoneo, de tu mierda ya no me creo. Hombres necios que acusáis a la mujer sin razón. ¿El tercero? Ok. Te crees la neta, el dueño del planeta, que vas y lo petas, y no eres más que un jeta que me tiene hasta las tetas. Hombres necios que acusáis a la mujer sin razón. Sois la lacra que aplastáis a la mujer con corazón. Corazón de guerrera que ya nada espera, porque todo ya la ha dado, sin esperar un carajo del que la mantiene siempre abajo. Hombres necios que acusáis a la mujer sin razón. Basta ya de tonterías, de la misma mierda cada día. Basta ya de mamoneo, tu mierda ya no me la creo. Hombres necios que acusáis a la mujer sin razón. Ya, ok. ¿Lo en español? Sí. Ok, esto es para mis hijos. Mis tres amores. ¿Qué no haría por ellos? Daría mis ojos al sol, daría mi voz a la luna, daría mi sangre a los mares, daría mi vida por ellos. ¿Qué no haría por ellos?
De espacio. ¿De primero? El primero. Tranquilo.
Mis tres amores. ¿Qué no haría por ellos? Daría mis ojos al sol, daría mi voz a la luna, daría mi sangre a los mares, daría mi vida por ellos. ¿Qué no haría por ellos?
Well, anyone else? Okay, it's my turn. No, I'm joking. I left my writing journal at home. I keep telling myself. So, gracias por todos. This was fun. We should do this again next week. Everyone, next week. Good? Yeah? No, I'm joking there. Calm down. So just to let you know, Paso is it's in 2 states. One state is in Indiana. I formed it in Indiana. I actually have a group that only focuses on dance in Indiana. And then Paso is also here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and we do events like this one. I am the dance instructor for Paso. We actually get rappers, poets, we have muralists, we have artists, we have other dancers. So if you're interested about more of our events, please sign up there. The emails are in English and in Spanish, so just feel free to contact us whenever, como quieran. But the cool thing about Paso is it's not just for Latinos, it's for everyone. All our workshops are bilingual. We'll always have translators. And actually our next workshop is at Viva by Design, one of the sponsors here in Arlington. And there's going to be 2 in April. There's going to be an 18 younger and 18 and up. And it's going to be breakdancing versus Latin dancing. So if you ever want to learn hip hop, so kind of b-boying, doing some pop locks, doing things like that, I actually have a guest breakdancer coming in. And he wants to work with students, and then I'll be teaching Latin dancing, and there's going to be a battle, old school battle with salsa, bachata, merengue versus breakdancing. Yeah, and then we have again 18 up for this too. You don't have to be super fit or dancer, but if you just want to learn to have fun, please come, and more information will be sent out through emails in the next few weeks. Yeah, cool. All right, gracias por todo. And if you guys have questions, please ask our guest speakers. Yes, sir? No, there's one for students, and then there's one for adults. That's what I think. So why you want to come break dance? Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Thank you both, or thank you all. And if you guys have questions or need anything, please feel free to ask any one of us. All right, thank you guys.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.